Are you looking to improve your sales without resorting to pushy tactics? Welcome to Sales Made Easy, the podcast that helps you to achieve better sales results and gain long-lasting clients through relational selling. Let's get right into it. What is the good word? With me is the world-renowned Joe Pici, and we're going to talk about sales and personal development and how that leads to growth. Joe's got quite an extensive background in sales. He used to be a football coach. Then he got involved with Amway for a number of years, did a lot of speaking and coaching and training. And then he started his own business, which is quite the story in itself. But today, Joe is with us. Welcome to the live broadcast, Joe. What's a good word?
How you doing? Thanks for inviting me.
All right. So I'm wondering if my microphone's working. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you great.
Okay, excellent. So talk to me, Joe. We're going to go into the personal development thing. Sometimes people feel a little bit like you don't really need personal development. I mean, I've been around business for a long time. As you probably have heard people say, yeah, personal development, that's not for me. What's your take on that thought?
Well, first, I want to differentiate the difference between personal development and professional development.
Yeah, okay, good.
Personal development, okay, may be optional because you may have your life together. However, professional development is a different thing. My wife and I, since, 1992, have been training, speaking, coaching sales professionals, around the world, okay?
Yeah.
And the people who allow themselves to enter into professional growth and development will always outperform. Companies that bring people in to train their people will always outperform. This is national statistics. But I think one of the reasons why people feel negative about professional growth is they don't know how to pick the right company to do the right thing at the right time.
Yeah. So they get, like you mentioned, so sometimes people get burned. They're getting the same old, same old. I mean, especially when it comes to sales. Sometimes what works is not necessarily what's being taught, and what the sales team is doing, maybe they don't buy into this. So you've got sometimes a difference of opinion going on. So yeah, a lot of things can go on. What's your thought on that? Is like,
Well, if I could be so bold,
yeah, please.
I got some reasons, some things you can do, okay, that will ensure you are getting the return on investment of your time and money when you enter into professional development. These are like the do's and the don't do's. The first thing, when you're looking at professional development, you got to be very clear about what is it that I want to get better at. In sales, is it my lead generation? Is it my ability to get in front of the decision maker? Is my ability to have consultative sales meetings, what I call core stories? Is it in my proposal writing? Is it in my follow-up? What is it about what you're doing do you need to improve? That has to be very clear, okay? And then I think you have to start going out there and vetting and looking who are the individuals and companies that are training this. So now you know what is you want to improve. Now you have to do your due diligence looking for those companies and or individuals that at least at the outset say they do what you need. Then you got to go a little deeper. You got to check their methodology. Well, what does that mean? If you are in one call close transactional sales, you do not need to go to consultative sales training. We do consultative sales training, okay? Yeah. And so we are not transactional. There's nothing wrong with transactional or consultative, but you better go to the right one. And you better hire the person that can train those. So I'll give you those first three. I don't want to take up all the thing. And then I have some more, but I want to kick it back to you.
Yeah, there's a huge point because sales is not just sales. And like you mentioned, there's so many different aspects of sales, but that very simple understanding what type of business that you run, is it a longer term sales cycle that could go on for 3 to 6 months, sometimes longer? Or is it that, like you mentioned, that one call close the transaction and get through the numbers with more meetings, get through, get the sale, move on, right? This is a little bit different than what you and I are used to. So,
Right.
talk to me. What are some of the things that come to mind for you?
Well, the other thing is, do you want inbound training? Do you want outbound
Mm.
training? Okay, like for us, one of the uniquenesses in what we do in our training, we do live outbound telephone call training, which is the
Yeah.
real calls to real people in real time. We don't believe in role play. And there's nothing wrong with role play, but I like execution.
Yeah.
Okay. So therefore, people that have realized in the 21st century, where we are right now in the economy of today with cybersecurity, with all this, the phone has become the most effective and efficient way to get to the decision maker. So people who are looking to learn how to navigate the gatekeeper, to get return, all of those things, they would look at us. But if a person's not, if they're looking for an email marketing campaign guy, that's
Mhm.
not me. So once
Right.
again, we get into vetting. Now let's take the next step of vetting. Okay. You need to look into the background and vet the training company, the training person. What have they done in the past? Who have they trained for? What was their success? How can you talk to past clients? I mean, people do more research on where they're going to go on vacation
Mm.
than
Yeah.
who's going to train them. How are they going to be trained? See, that's the other thing. How do you want to be trained? Some people learn better virtually. Some people learn better live. Some people like pre-recorded video that are they can watch anytime. So you look at your learning style. You look at how you want your team or yourself trained and coached, then you vet those people. And I like when I talk to people, they usually say something like this, well, who have you worked with? Can you give me testimonials? And we work in all industries because it's not who we do it for, it's what we do, which opens up a huge market. All right. So, any company or individual that's looking to take their business more proactively outbound, those are the people we work with. So they'll say to me, well, can you give us some names? And what I rather do is I say, look, go to my LinkedIn profile, go to our
Mhm.
website, call any of our clients, 100% of our clients. If they did not get ROI, if we did not deliver more than we promised, don't hire us. Because one of the problems, if you go into with a training company or a coach and you're not clear about what you want to be trained in, then you have no right to be disappointed when you don't get it.
Yeah, so true. So, like when I think of the training, a lot of things come to mind. There's been Sandler has been around for years. I mean, Tom Hopkins used to do it years ago. Brian Tracy's done it, and there's a lot of people that are doing it. What's working today? I really like what you said about picking up the phone and making live calls, and it goes beyond just theory. Why is that so important?
Well, I think I don't put down anybody's methodology. I really don't. I think what Tom Hopkins did worked, what Zig Ziglar did worked, what Sandler did. I think you can make any program work if you believe in it.
Mm,
What makes our training unique, and I didn't say better than anybody,
right? Yeah.
all right? Unique. Number one, it is very consultative. 85% of sales happens between the 6th and the 15th contact.
So
Therefore, we opt for consultative. Number two, we're going to do the live outbound calls.
yeah.
That's very important. But we're not going to do the live outbound calls just as a call day. We're going to build up to it with the right messaging, the right value propositions. We're very big on scripting. Okay. And we're going to teach methodology and how to do a virtual. So we have our own. I think the one other thing that makes us unique is I'm still selling. Now I'm not putting back down other training companies.
Mhm.
Many time training companies or coaching companies sell packages and somebody else goes in and does the training.
Right.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Yep.
I'm still selling. Okay. Which really kind of, when you ask me that question, what's new out there. I know about what the economy is doing right now. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm living in corporations. I've got a big B2C market and a big B2B market. So I know what's going on at the grassroots level, and I know what's going on in major corporations. And again, that doesn't make me better. It's just our methodology.
Exactly. So you're a hands-on guy compared to, I mean, again, everyone's different and they have their own style, but talking to you, you're living it, right? You're in sales every day. I know you personally, and you're making your hour of calls or so every day. So going in and saying, I'm going to help someone with calls, this is what you've been doing. This is not some theory, which I think is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. So I'm going to just touch on what are some of the things you mentioned. Maybe it's outbound versus inbound. This is, it sounds simple, but what is the difference, right? For those who are, maybe they're looking to capture leads through LinkedIn or Facebook, they handle a call one way, and then outbound is clearly different. And so expectations as well are different, right? When you're making outbound calls versus someone reached out to you, filled out a form, and you're calling them. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, let me say this. It's not as big a difference as most people think. I have worked with inbound call centers. I've worked with outbound call centers. I've worked with inbound marketing companies that drive leads to companies. I work with people that have to generate their own leads. What the difference is, okay, is really the opening script. That's
Mm.
all that's different. It's it is the first sentence you have that either opens or closes a door. Okay. And I'm not saying, I get presidents of companies, I get people say, well, I don't like scripted. Look, the best actors in the whole world are Italian. Okay. Stallone, but they're all great, but they're scripted. They literally have a script, but they know their script so well, it's not a script. So
Exactly.
it really, when we have our 3-day sales boot camp, I only allow 26 people. I'll have 18 different industries. I'll
Hmm.
have all backgrounds from entry level sales to we had 35-year salespeople coming in. Okay. And they all have different target markets. We work so hard on getting in their target market, how to navigate the gatekeeper, how to get I mean, we do everything on day 2. So when we pick up the phone on day 3, we're batting about 77% conversion to appointment. We're
Hmm.
getting through the gatekeeper 92% of the time. We're getting return phone calls same day. Not because we're special. There's no manipulation. It's because this is what we have decided to be good at.
Yeah.
And I believe I was on a show this morning for a bunch of realtors down in Texas. And I said, look, if you can get in front of the target market and convert leads to deals, that's 90% of sales.
Yeah.
All the other stuff we do is important, but without those two components, you're wasting time and money.
100%. And this, I mean, so a couple things come to mind. Number one is understanding your target market. I think people are playing a game of chase a lot. They're following up on leads that are not really their ideal client, not even leads, but maybe people they've had conversations with that they feel is a lead. But understanding who your ideal client or your target market is extremely important. What is the reason for that? Why does that come to mind for you?
Well, I have a little different methodology in that the target market defines itself on my first 1 minute on the phone. All these other people do all this research. They have their avatar. Yeah, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But
Yeah.
people spend so much time researching when I'll pick up the phone and in one sentence, we both know
Yeah.
if we should have a conversation. They're not offended. I'm not offended. I don't want to waste time. They don't want to waste time. And I really do believe sales is about 80% messaging. So I think we have to determine, yes, are there some industries we don't want to work in? Yeah. Are there
Yeah.
some industries I'd like to work in? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. But here's the thing. 85% of the companies in the United States are small to small medium. And I know people that say, I don't want to work with small businesses because I need companies with 20 million or more. You know what? You know how much money is in small to small medium businesses? There's a ton of money. Okay. And so the whole idea comes down to, what are you saying that here's a paradigm shift. When I approach people, I don't play games. My first sentence, I'm qualifying them, they're not qualifying me. I'm polite, I'm professionally direct, right?
Yeah.
But I'm qualifying whether or not I want the next step.
Yeah.
And you know how many calls and because about 88% of our quality leads come from LinkedIn. So I make a lot of cold calls. I make warm, cold, and hot calls. That's what we do in our training: warm,
Yeah.
cold, and hot, right?
Yeah.
But the scripting is not much different. It's just the entry point.
Right. Right. So you're again, if you're connected to Joe, there's a pretty good chance that he spoke to you over the phone. Are you still doing that? It's like
Yeah,
if you connect with someone, the
yeah.
phone's going to ring,
I
and
pick up their numbers there. I'm going to call them, and
yeah.
I'm not going to go into this long dissertation about pretending to build a relationship.
Okay.
I make an initial statement. We're either going to have a conversation or we're not. And if they don't want to have a say, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't be on LinkedIn if it wasn't a business generating mechanism.
Oh my goodness. Talk to me about that. Seems like there could be a massive amount of time wasted on LinkedIn if we're not there for the right reasons in
Let
doing
me let me
stuff.
say
So,
this too. You just
yeah.
made me think of something.
Okay,
I
good.
could spend the whole day with you because we talk shop. I think what we have to be careful of is the amount of time we spend scrolling social media.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. But
Yeah.
number two, because our number one vertical is sales,
Yeah.
individuals and companies. Our number two vertical is we also work with speakers, coaches, trainers, and consultants, not on how to talk, but how to make money. And one of the worst industries there are, speakers, trainers, coaches, and consultants get into the comparison game. So they go on LinkedIn and they see people that appear to be making $80 million a day, and they feel bad about
Right.
themselves. You know
Yeah.
what? Get out of the comparison game. I
Mm.
go on LinkedIn for one reason: to generate leads,
Nice.
not to read the scrolls about the Olympics
Mm-hmm.
and politics and who's the late. I'm looking for leads. Otherwise, you'll get lost in the maze and spend the entire day scrolling.
Yeah. Well, it's like going to a network event, right? So if you go to a network event and you don't go with a sense of purpose, to me, it's a waste of time. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Same is true of LinkedIn. Going on LinkedIn, posting for the sake of posting, without having purpose, whether it be posting, purpose with your commenting. People like Joe are doing this with intentionality, right? They are thinking about their brand. They're thinking about how does this apply to generating more business.
Yep.
If LinkedIn did not provide any business opportunities for you, Joe, would you spend any time on
No.
it? Exactly.
Look,
Right.
I have 20 ways. We have 20 ways we generate leads. Okay. If any of them fail to deliver potential leads,
Yeah.
I don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's better things you can do with your time.
Exactly. And I mean, so I love how you have this wide range of looking at different ways you can generate these potential leads. When you say 20, I'm just going through my head. It's like, that's a big number, right? I'm thinking of calls, thinking social media, direct mailing comes to mind, um, outbound, what are networking, doing that, chamber events. that 20, I'm nowhere near 20. I think I got 5 or 6.
Well, if you're in business and you're not guesting on podcasts, you don't
Oh
have
yeah.
to have your own podcast,
Yeah.
but guesting on podcasts is a great way to get exposure, grow your brand, and get possible leads. Now, I know we're getting down on time here. Can I
Yeah.
give away a couple gifts before we finish up?
Yeah, but before we do that, I just want to we won't finish without your gifts. Um, so for people who are thinking about their business, their company, and they're saying, I'm not really doing any professional development. I'm, kind of letting salespeople do their own thing, and they don't really see the importance of it. Why should they consider this topic?
We're in a competitive market. We're also living in the worst economy I've seen in 20 years.
Mm.
It's worse than COVID.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I do all our selling, I'm
Yeah.
having to make 3 times as many calls, get out 3 times as many proposals. I'm still getting business, but this is the hardest economy I've seen.
Yeah.
So now we get into competition and that competitive edge. Why do great athletes continue to train? Why do attorneys go back for continuing ed? Why do doctors? I mean, every profession there is. But why do people think they took a Dale Carnegie class 37 years ago and that's going to get them through life?
Oh my goodness, Joe.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. That's the
And
state of most salespeople. Is that what they're thinking is, I've done this when I started. I don't need it anymore. But they wonder why people are ghosting them, right? They wonder why people are not returning calls after they show interest. And people like you know a lot of the reasons why.
yeah.
Right. And so then you can make adjustments. Like this will help you prevent it. Stuff that worked in the 90s, early 2000s. I think especially when salespeople had more of an advantage. And I don't like to look at sales this way, but they knew their product more than the buyer knew their product. Today, it can be the complete opposite,
Well, sure.
right?
Educated buyers because they go on the internet. And that's
Exactly.
why salesmanship becomes so important, because if you're not able to build that rapport and break down those wrong thoughts, so to speak, if you're not able to consult, become a
Yeah.
trusted advisor, then they just buy at price.
Yeah, totally. Right. Right. If you can't separate yourself, people are just going to go to the lowest common denominator is they view it all the same.
Sure.
It's sort of like if you view sales training all the same, it's like, well, I can't go wrong. But the way you outlined in the very beginning shows that there's different types of sales training, and understanding what your organization needs is
Yep.
key.
Yep.
Another thing you mentioned, Joe, I just want to touch on it, is you said there's no manipulation. This idea, which I just want to touch on briefly, is people feel like they have to be a really strong closer to get business, which in some tendency says, or some thought is like it's the magical thing that you say where people feel like they have to buy. Is that something that, can we touch on that for a second, or what's
Sure.
your thought? Yeah.
Sure. And the people who think they have to be a really good closer are the people who use charisma and talent and not a process.
Mm,
I
yeah.
have a 5-step process for every sales meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
And it literally is an unemotional fact finding, discovery, what we call a core story, which is the client talking 82% of the time.
Mm,
That formula brings the right people to the table that when they're ready to buy, we're going to be up towards the top of the chart.
yeah. I love that.
A national statistic says this: 80% of the people that you make the first approach to are not ready for you right now.
Yeah.
Right? They weren't sitting there going, I hope Harry calls today. You know what I mean? It's like we're interrupting them, and they were okay with average. And we shined a light on some of their infirmities.
Yeah.
And so their initial thought is to defend their process, and they're not ready right now.
So good. And, spending some time with you and understanding a good sales process so that you're not trying to be really clever and wonder why people are ghosting you, because some of these clever tactics, folks, will get you out of the sales cycle pretty quickly because
Yeah.
buyers don't like the tactics anymore. They don't want to feel pressured. So,
Nope.
being a real consultant like our friend Joe is, and I love the fact that you're saying that it takes, it can take up to 15 contacts, right? Where people start saying, yeah, okay, I think I'm ready now.
Yeah.
So many give up. When do they give up, Joe? After the first one, second?
First of all, 92% of sales professionals never follow up after the first no answer or I'm not ready now.
Yeah.
92%. Here's another statistic on inbound leads that companies pay tons of money for. 79% of inbound leads never get called.
Outrageous. There's a lot of opportunity right there. Making the second call will separate you from many, right? And then 79% are not handling inbound leads. That blows my mind. So my suggestion is have a conversation with Joe Pici and team. They will get you going. And Joe, I believe you do the majority of it.
I got gifts. You ready? Okay.
Yeah.
First thing in the gift is take out your cell phone and go to your text message and put the word Sales Edge, SALESEDGE, one word. You are going to text that to the number 59925. A Peachy and Peachy link should come up. That'll take you to a splash page. There is a free webinar on the 8 essentials of sales success. So it's Sales Edge to 59925. The second free gift, we have a podcast called The Sales Edge. We're up to number 462.
Amazing.
It's business, it's sales, it comes out every Tuesday.
How many years have you been doing that to get to episode 462?
Probably 4.
Jeez Louise.
The first 2 years we did 2 a week. Now we do 1 a week.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Good for you. Yeah.
The third gift, on October 21, 22, 23, we have the Rapport Mastery Sales Bootcamp that's been ranked #1 in the world by Global Gurus 4 years in a row. It's normally $2,500. Anybody who calls me and says, I saw you with Harry, you'll get a $500 discount right off the top.
Nice.
Next, anybody who wants a complimentary cup of Joe, which means we're just going to get on the phone, have a quick conversation. Maybe I'll give you a couple free tips. I won't try to sell you. 407-947-2590.
Beautiful. So that will show up in the comments here. But real quick, I can vouch for Joe's training. I've been to one of his boot camps. Joe becomes a partner with that, right? So we periodically have conversations. I met him for a cup of Joe once. You can't find a nicer, and in my opinion, smarter, more sales savvy individual than Joe Pici that really pours his heart out in helping individuals to reach their goals when it comes to selling and growing their business. So thank you, Joe Pici.
Thank you, Harry, for inviting me.
All right. Great stuff, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Sales Made Easy. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Also, you're invited to join the Facebook group Sales Training Selling with Dignity. Serve first, the selling will follow.